Book of the Dead becoming God in ancient Egypt. Production and use. Transmission of funerary literature, SAITE through Ptolemaic periods. The Fluidity of the Canon. Part 3. BD 18 consists of a set of invocations to the god Thoth, adjuring him to justify the deceased before 10 councils, where each council comprised a specific list of deities and was associated with a different cult center. For the Great Council in Abydos, SAITE texts list Osiris, Isis, and Weppoet as the deities of that council. The pre-Ptolemaic scribes revised the list by inserting Nephthys, the sister of Isis, before Weppoet. The reason for this is uncertain, but Isis and Nephthys represent the primary two mourners who wept over the murder of their brother Osiris, and it may have been this context that prompted the inclusion of Nephthys. To this end, this council was associated with counting the dead and reckoning the blessed dead, and the name Weppoet means opener of the ways, a reference to opening a way for the deceased to go forth from his tomb after revivification. Thus the insertion of Nephthys appropriately fits the overall context of death, mourning, burial, and going forth. Of even greater interest is the council associated with the Great Land Ploughing Festival in Busiris or Mendes, while the deities making up the different councils in BD 18 were specified as far back as the New Kingdom. The deities comprising the council for the Great Land Ploughing Festival in Busiris/Mendes had never been specified in New Kingdom texts, nor were they specified in SAITE documents. The pre-Ptolemaic scribes of the main workshop recognized this inconsistency, and they were the first to list the deities of the council: Thoth, Osiris, Anubis, and Weppoet. This revision was accepted by the subsequent Theban traditions, but not the BM 10,086 tradition. Those scribes rejected the pre-Ptolemaic identification and instead listed Horus, Isis, and Imseti. Of equal interest is the name used for the cult center. In the other traditions, the location of the council was Busiris or Mendes, where the only difference in the spelling for Busiris and Mendes was the presence or absence of at ending, and one can observe utter inconsistency in many spells in which the name was given. The scribes of the BM 10,086 tradition, however, used a different name here, Ampit, another name for Mendes. One wonders in this instance if the scribes were aware of the common confusion between Busiris and Mendes, and they chose Ampit to make it clear that the council was associated with Mendes, not Busiris. Yet another class of revisions had to do with conscious attempts to achieve parallelism in expression, and thereby achieve grammatical consistency in a sequence of statements. These typically do not result in any major changes in content for a spell, but they demonstrate grammatical astuteness in aiming for consistency. For example, in BD 26, several statements pertain to the heart, mouth, and arms of the deceased. Given to me is my heart, and it is content with me. My mouth belongs to me in order to speak. my arms belong to me in order to overthrow my enemies. Note the initial clause in contrast to the other two with regard to the notions of giving and possession. This inconsistency was not lost on scribes from various Ptolemaic traditions, who either revised the first statement to one of possession to achieve parallelism, my heart belongs to me, and it is content with me, my mouth belongs to me in order to speak, my arms belong to me in order to overthrow my enemies. Other scribes did the reverse, given to me is my heart, and it is content with me, given to me is my mouth in order to speak, given to me are my arms in order to overthrow my enemies. In other instances this practice did indeed result in changes to content. For example, BD7, a spell for passing by the vertebra of Apophis. It is a danger, consists of a succession of statements where the deceased is the subject and where he generally asserts that he has power over Apophis, the arch-adversary of the gods and revivified dead. I shall not be weary to you, I shall not weaken to you. I am he, mysterious of names. I am Osiris. In the midst of these statements, however, SAITE texts include all, the gods protected me, where there is an obvious change in subject and the deceased becomes a passive participant. Most later Theban scribes ignored this inconsistency, but not the scribes of the N3152 tradition who revised that one passage too. I protect all the gods, thereby making this statement parallel in grammar and context to the surrounding statements. Further, this revision asserts that the deceased is so powerful that he is the protector of the gods rather than they protecting him.